Welcome to Collecting Chaos. It's the Monday morning show. Something a little different. We're still with D&D stuff, but we're going to start making an adventure. Now, how did I decide to do this? First thing you have to do when you want to make an adventure is have an idea. Now, this is a low-level adventure, and this is graph paper, which I don't know if you can tell or not. We'll see if I can focus in on the graphs themselves. I'm going to make it fairly large. I don't know if I can get that focused or not. But what I'm going to do, I'll be doing a little drawing, and as I draw, I'll explain what I'm doing. Now, the first thing I needed was an idea. Okay, so I thought, okay, the adventure's low level, first level, you know. They're in a town, and the town is complaining about this huge bear that's been going through and damaging their crops. And I think I have something on my lens. Yes, I do. I have to clean my lens. I'll be right back. Okay, turns out it wasn't on my lens. It was on my computer monitor. Strange things. So you never saw what I was seeing. I saw a little brown spot right about here, and it was annoying me. But the first thing I'm going to do is the villagers are complaining about a huge bear, and to them it's huge anyway. And so we're going to have a bear. That's a definite. Now, bears are different. I have a sheet from my monstrous compendium. I have a lot of different things. Oh, now we can focus and get a decent focus maybe. And here, black bears have 3+3 hit dice, brown bears 5+5 hit dice, cave bears 6+6, polar bears 8+8. It's not a polar bear. It's not a cave bear. So it has to be brown or black. And they're saying it's huge, but you know, nobody's really ever seen it. They just assume. So I'm going to we're going to say it's it's black bear. And should I have 5 players instead of 3, you know, if you're doing 5 players instead of 3, then you would change that to a brown bear. So it's one bear. And I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I have another pen. I do. So I'm going to write that in ink, because that's, if I can get the pen to work. So we have a bear. We have one bear. So we need like a bear cave, you know. So we're going to just start out something fairly large, actually. Now, I don't do the normal thing where a lot of people do. Each square is 10 by 10. I go each square is 5 by 5. And that way I can get a better idea. So this is actually a fairly large cave. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Well, yeah, it's over 50 square feet. So there you go. Which, well, no, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's not that big. It's 25 square feet, something like that. It's not as big as I thought it was, but that's okay, because that's a good size. And of course, you're going to have bones in it. And we'll just say these are bones here, animal bones, and the bear, you know, sleeps somewhere in there. We don't know where. And we're going to have a short little entrance. You know, it doesn't have to be a wide entrance. And we'll say this is the entrance. And there's bushes and stuff around it. And obviously it's on a hill. So there'll be a hill here. Now I'm going to draw lines which represent, to me, elevation. But that's not important for you. I just do that for myself. So you have a, you know, a little... And we're just going to say it goes like this. There's a big stone right behind, right back here for some reason. I'll get into that later. Now the bear's no problem. You go, if they find the cave, they take care of the bear, right? So that's not much of an adventure. It seems that there's a little village somewhere in front with, you know, some huts. And normally these would be living in the cave, but they don't. Instead, there's a larger hut here and a few smaller huts. Think of like the round huts from the Bronze Age or the Stone Age. You know, Bronze Age, I think, would be appropriate. Now that little village has goblins in it, and the goblins kind of worship the bear, and to keep the bear from attacking the goblins, the goblins have set up a little place, like a little altar stone in front, and they actually put meat and stuff like that for the bear to eat, so the bear will leave them alone. So they're not going to be happy if you kill their totem, their bear. So they worship the bear, and they have bear, you know, like they have a bear on their shield and stuff like that. We'll work that out later. So we have goblins. We have a bear and we have goblins. It's a small tribe, though. So we're going to say, oh, we're going to say, you know, 15, 20. A very small tribe. So there's 15 or 20 goblins. We'll put that in. $15 to $20. And the way I'll get that is I'll write out a D4 and add 16. And that's how I'll get well, actually it would be 16 to 20, wouldn't it? So 16 to 20 goblins. And they won't run into them all at once. And that does not include young goblins, you know, pre-adolescent goblins or female goblins. That's just the males. So there you go. That's how we'll work that out. So now we have goblins and a bear. And I'm not going to make a map showing where this is in relation to the village. Because I used to do that, and every time I would do that, people would go the wrong way. You know, I'd say, okay, I've got this adventure set out, I've got it on the map, I know where they're going, and I'd say, okay, I recommend you go northeast, and they immediately head south. So I run the adventure anyway, get home, and have to remake the map, moving all of that stuff to the south. Well, now, instead of mountains to the north and east, I have them to the south. So I had to redo the entire map. And then somebody once came up and said, how come you used to have mountains in the north and now they're in the south? I said, well, somebody got turned around. But that's how we'll do that. Okay, so we need the bear. And the bear gets 3 plus 3 hit dice. So that's 8-sided die. 1, 2, 3, And I would recommend rolling this for each time you ran the adventure. So for this particular bear, which I will put in pencil, he's got 15, that's 17 plus 3, so he's got 20 hit points. I'm not going to roll each one of the goblins, because goblins you're going to run across, they would run across 2 to 3 at a time, or I would say 6 at a time. So we'd have 1d6 goblins at any given time, not to exceed 20 total. So, you know, the first time they're running into goblins, you'd roll the die, and okay, there's like 1 on lookout. Well, that's easy enough to take care of. So that's how I would work that during the adventure. So you've got a little goblin town, and I'll go through and refine it a little bit off, you know, later on. But for right now, this is a bare bones map. We're just going to go ahead and make this like a little square hut, even though it isn't. This is the chief's hut. This would be, and these are little outlying houses, whatever. They'd be fairly close together. And I'm thinking mud and wattle, which is basically mud and straw. Here's the little... And this distance, outside distance, is greater than inside distance, if that makes any sense to you. So for an outside distance, the squares might be 10 feet. But once you get into the cave, they're only 5 feet. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's the way it is. And then you could have some bushes or something growing up around, masking the hut from the altar. Or it might even be, this might actually be way down here somewhere. But the idea is that you have some of this stuff pre-prepared. Would I go and name all of the goblins? No, I wouldn't give the goblins names, because the chances are the only one that might need a name is the chieftain, whatever the goblin chieftain is. And the goblin chieftain, of course, he would have more hit points. Now, generally, goblins get 1d8 minus 1 with a minimum of 1, so they get 1 to 7 hit points with a higher probability of having a 1 than anything else. So this, I rolled a 5, so the one goblin they ran across would have 4 hit points. It's like a half hit monster. I mean, at some point, of course, my video shut off and I don't know what I was talking about. I'm not going to go back and watch it and rewind and figure it out. But what I have for wandering monsters right now are creatures. I have goblins as the number 1 choice. And like I said, I roll 2d6 divided by 2. That means number 1 and number 6 are a little harder to come by. And that's the goblins and the bear. This would be 1 plus 3 is 4 divided by 2. So deer is fairly common. You got a giant eagle as number 5. And that could be fairly common. There's 4 and a 2, 6. That would be 3. So a skunk or a rabbit. And I was trying to think of something to put with a fox. Yeah, an NPC, a non-player character. And that non-player character you'd have to make up on the fly. It could be, it might be a hunter. It could be a trapper. It could be a wandering minstrel. And this person may or may not be willing to help you on the adventure. So there we have it. This is these are our wandering monsters. You have one way you can only roll for the bear once. If you get the bear, that's it. You don't get the bear again, because if he's wounded, he's either going to go into a rage and try to kill you all, or realize he's outnumbered and head for his cave. If he heads for his cave, that means you're going to have to go up against a wounded bear later on. Now this is a 3 and a 6, which is 9. Divide that by 2, and you would get a 5, which is a giant eagle. You can round up, you can round down, either way you want. It would be a fox, an NPC, or a giant eagle. And you can just keep doing that. A 1 and a 2, that's 2. You'd round up. I usually do round up. With the one exception, a 5 and a 6 rounds down. An 11 rounds down to 10. You never round, and a 1 and a 2 rounds up to 2. Or a 3 rounds up to 2. A 5 and a 6 rounds down to 10. You never want to round up to the bear or down to the goblins, because those should be your rare. Those should be the rare of the wandering creatures. And that's where we're going to stop for right now. You've got your little cave bear, or your little bear cave. You've got a little goblin village. You know you have anywhere from 16 to 20 goblins, not including female goblins or goblin children. And it is possible to make friends with the goblins. It's entirely possible, because they're a village. They don't want to die. So, if you have a high charisma, you might try something like that. But then you get 1d6, or 1d8, excuse me, minus 1. And the chieftain is 2d8 minus 2. Bear is 3d8 plus 3. So there you go. That's basically how I would start making an adventure. I would try to have the goblin chieftain survive, even if everybody else died. I might want the bear to survive, but be wounded to the point where he goes off and he hides and they can't find him. Remember, this would have like bushes or stuff in front of it, so they might not even find that cave. I did have an ongoing campaign where they ran into a cave bear. It was a young cave bear, and it survived. And they survived. And they ran into that cave bear about 6 times. And each time they ran into him, he was bigger and more powerful. And the last time they ran into him, he killed 2 of the characters, but they did manage to kill it eventually. And by that time, he was just a humongous cave bear. He was oversized. Because even though a cave bear is generally considered to be like a 4 to 6 hit die monster, I gave him much more. I think by the time they finished him, he was 10 hit dice. And he was smart. So that's it. That's all we're going to do today. I know it's confusing. I know it's not easy to grasp. Those of you that have played Dungeons and Dragons or have played fantasy role-playing games on the tabletop will understand what I'm doing here a lot better than those that have never played. And I understand that. And it's kind of geared towards those people that have played before. But if you kind of get a basic understanding of what I'm doing, that helps too. So that's going to be it for this session. I will see you tomorrow on Tuesday's Treasures. I don't know if I'm going to have any treasures to show you. I might have to dig something out of my personal collection. Actually, I do have some treasures to show you out of my personal collection that are going up for sale. So I'll show you those tomorrow. And in the meantime, make sure before you handle your role-playing stuff, you wash your hands. It's good for your collectibles. Most of all, it's good for your health. And we'll see you next video. Throwing the horns at you. Make sure before you have a wonderful day today. If you woke up and you're in a bad mood, just remind yourself, things could be worse. You might not have woke up. You always start a good day by waking up. Bye.